Hi, my name is Brian Walker, and I am a licensed real estate and mortgage broker in Los Angeles. And I've been doing real estate and lending, banking, and investing for over 30 years. The point is that I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen and heard just about every situation, problem, fact, success story, failure that you can imagine. And when it comes to financing or investing and making money, I help people do this every day, whether it be in their business that they already have established or a new business, or whether it be starting in real estate. So I can probably help you with your situation. So since I'm doing this and since you're here, hopefully you'll spend a few minutes with me and we can talk and I can tell you a little bit about what I've been through, what I do, and why you should care. Okay? So I'm going to go out on a limb. And the first thing I'm going to say is you're probably here for the same reason I am, is that so we can both make money, right? If you're looking to make money sooner than later, I assume that's what you're trying to do, then you're in the right place. So, what do I do every day? As a broker, as an NMLS licensed lender, that's a federal license that I work very hard to get. And those of you who have one know how hard it is to get one of those. But what do I do every day as a broker? Basically, what I do is I package loans and deals so that the investors, whether it be a bank or a private investor, looks at that deal and says, I like that deal. I think I want to put money into that deal, right? So that you can get your deal off the ground and you can get your loan closed, you can get your piece of real estate, or you can get your business started, or maybe you need some capital to get going, okay? Operational money, who knows? We even do PPP loans. So, point is, I'm glad you're here. And I give you some more information about what I do is, I also represent people with real estate. So as a broker, I can help them negotiate, sign the contracts, work out deals on financing, lender financing, seller financing, whatever the case may be. We get creative here because I mostly do private money. And for those of you that don't know what that is, those are private investors. They could be hedge funds, they could be funds or pools of money that are looking for investments to make. And I help place that money into people's hands for their business. Okay? So let's talk about your situation. Your situation might be any number of things. Maybe you've been doing this for a while and it's working pretty good, and you're having success and you want to keep moving, you want to grow. Maybe you're not able to scale how you would like to scale. Maybe you're just trying to get started. I'm not really sure, but you're probably in that category somewhere, from either beginner or seasoned veteran, and maybe you're trying to get to the next level. But let's just think real life, right? You had a plan, it's maybe not working or going how you'd hoped. The deals are impossible to find, right? You got all the excuses. They're impossible to find. There's way too much competition. You're too poor. Maybe you just don't have any money or credit or any number of other reasons why it's not working. The crazy thing is you might actually be closer to succeeding than you think. Real estate itself, and I'm going to focus more on that than just general business. Real estate itself is a massive field, right? You can go anywhere around the globe and there are people doing real estate. Every place around the globe, every country, every city, every town, there's real estate. And it can be bought and sold and upgraded or downgraded or turned into whatever, right? I mean, it's really something, if you have a creative bone, you can do a lot with real estate because you can do so many things. You can build all kinds of things. You can build malls or strip centers or family housing, multi units. Who knows? It could be a park, right? Anyways, real estate is a huge field, and you could be feeling overwhelmed, and maybe you have a lot of questions and very few answers. Well, most people often don't know really the space between failure and success. Sometimes it's really big, sometimes it's just a few small changes to their approach. Well, I see them as small mostly, but you never know. I mean, everybody's different. You may not see them that way. If this is like you, or this is something new to you, it may not feel like a small journey. It may feel like a huge journey. And I'll tell you, it does take time. it'll likely feel like you're light years away from having any kind of success. I mean, you might be far from success right now, or it may be right around the corner. The key is, what will it take to cross the finish line? You can have success quick if you try to get rid of a lot of the noise, because there's so much that you can focus on with real estate. And if you can get rid of some of the noise and focus on the parts that matter, you will find you'll go a lot faster. Okay. It's just like, let's say you build a car, right? And you spend all your time under the hood and the suspension and the steering and everything, and you work on that stuff that people don't really see that much more than you work on the outside of the car. Maybe the frame of the car is great, maybe the aerodynamics are fantastic, but the paint job looks like crap, right? Well, maybe focusing on the paint isn't your number one priority, because the paint doesn't necessarily make the car go faster. Now, when you get down to the smoothness of the finishes and things like that, yeah, you're probably talking milliseconds of difference. But for the most part, it's not a major priority, right? So focus on the stuff that really matters. It's the stuff that you can't see so much, right? Or the foundation of a building. If you ever notice that you can see a building going up, and especially if it's like a big skyscraper or something, and you see them working on it, and you see them digging in this hole, and it's mud and dirt and people walking around for months or maybe even years, and you're going, man, they're not doing anything. It's just a big hole. And then once they start on the foundation, and that foundation starts to come up, and as that foundation starts to come up, all of a sudden the building is like whoosh, and it's up, and you're like, holy cow. All of a sudden it's like there's a frame and there's ironworks up, and now they're putting up glass and elevators and everything else. It's because the foundation work took the longest amount of time. It's the most important part of the entire build. It's also the most important part of what you know in your head as to how to move your company or your business ahead, right? So if any of this sounds like where you are or where you want to go, then I'm glad you're here, because you have to change your outlook, what your prospects are, and that success is something that is attainable. You can get there. And for those of you who stick around, I'm going to make a deal with you. If you stick around and you do talk to one of our senior strategists at the end of this, I think you're going to find that most of you will get something out of what we do. So I'm just going to say, I can't begin to tell you about, some of the people and stories that I have. I've been doing this a long time. I think I first started working in real estate, actually, I can't even remember when. I mean, it's been a long time ago, probably 30 years ago, working with a buddy of mine, slinging a hammer, doing home improvement projects. And, I learned a lot from him, but I've sold windows. I've done home improvement sales. It taught me a lot. I've done loans. I've slung a hammer. I've had a power wash business a long time ago, and we power washed Wendy's. Wendy's restaurants. I'm sure you've been there with Wendy with the little pigtails. Matter of fact, I even used to do commercials for Wendy's and Dave Thomas. He was a nice guy. But anyways, all the things that I've heard over those years about what fears people have, the issues they have, they cross over into every business. It's the same. Real estate has some different challenges because it's just such a massive field. But don't let those fears and inhibitions that you have stop you from moving forward, because if somebody holds your hand or is there in front of you to help lead the way, it's like, playing ball. You have a blocker in front of you and you're a running back. You let that blocker help lead the way and you follow right behind that blocker, okay? And you can make a lot of progress by doing that, because that guy is built for what he's doing. We're built for what we do. We're built to be able to help you do what you're trying to accomplish, okay? So here's why you want to spend a few more minutes with this. You want to succeed. And I know that's why you're here. That's why you clicked on this, and that's why you're sitting here listening to me drabble on about this, okay? And maybe you're tired of it not really working, or maybe it's not going anywhere. You're tired of it. Maybe your family's giving you a hard time. You said you were going to do this and nothing's happening. Well, it is happening. You're learning. And sometimes, again, think about that like the foundation. It takes a while to build a foundation, okay? It just doesn't happen overnight. So you might be spinning your wheels. Maybe you're in the mud, stuck. You're just not going anywhere. It feels like quicksand. You haven't worked at this already. Maybe you have. and you've tried everything, right? Like almost like diets, right? All the people who try all these different diets. But maybe you've tried different things. You've tried books and seminars and workshops, and they give you amazing information, and it's amazing. I'm glad that you've done that if you have. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But if you have done that and you still haven't been able to break through and you're still trying to put all it together, don't feel bad that your execution is falling flat, right? Because I'll tell you personal experience, just getting these licenses that I have, you're talking 16, is it 16 books? Maybe it's not 16, maybe it's a dozen. Anyways, each book that we have to study is a good, I don't know, 400 pages thick, give or take 50 pages either direction. And it's a lot of information. But the thing is that information doesn't really tell you how you're going to run your business. It doesn't tell you what you have to do to be successful as a broker or a brokerage or as a lender or as an investor or any other number of things that you want to do. It just teaches you how to have a license and how to be ethical in your business, how to be a fiduciary and look out for other people's money, because that's what we do. So it teaches you law, and it teaches you how to put a contract together and all the things that you have to do to make this work, right? So think about it. It took me 2 years. It took me about 2 years just before I started to feel comfortable doing what I was doing. So don't feel bad if you've read a few books and you've gone to a couple seminars. That's a fraction of the information that I've spent in time I've spent and schooling I've spent and education I've spent in learning how to do this. So don't feel bad that you still feel a little timid or maybe nervous about even starting. It's completely natural. And if you didn't, I would probably be worried about you, because you're going to go out there and probably make a lot of mistakes and they're going to be expensive. So don't feel bad about that, really. It's a new day every day. And think of it this way. You can do whatever it is you want to do starting today. You can wipe off yesterday and let's get going today. So when I was doing this and I was learning all this, I'm doing all these things, and it took me 6 months just with all the classes and everything I had to do, and then advertising and finding clients. And then I finally get a client, and it took months to do that, and then months to close. It took 6 months from the day I started as a lender until I closed my first deal. It took 6 months to do that. Now, I will tell you this. I was real excited when that deal closed, and I was even more excited when the check came, because I made $50,000 on that very first really difficult loan that I did. I was excited, and I was thinking, man, I'm glad I did this. I wish I knew this before, because I would have done this years ago. But $50,000, that's pretty good. And now that I knew how to do one, I could do another one. And that's kind of what's going to happen to you. Once you kind of do one, you feel like, oh, okay, I can do another one. And maybe you're already doing a few now, and you're thinking, man, I'd like to do a whole lot more. What things am I missing that I'm not doing more than what I'm doing now? We can help you with that. That's what we do. We work with investors every day. So let's talk about what a lot of people go through right now, okay? And why people use different kinds of loans to do different kinds of things, right? Because the loans are like tools in a tool chest or a toolbox. You've got to know which tool to use in which circumstance, right? So I'll give you the standard way people go. Usually it's call your bank, you get your stuff off to the lender, it might be whatever bank, it doesn't matter. You send your stuff to a bank, and most of the banks kind of do this the same way. You know, they're going to want all your docs up front, or maybe they'll say, you know, call us when you have a loan, or not a loan, but when you have your property in contract and you're ready to go, right? You're ready to buy. So what you do, you get all your stuff together, you get your files together, your W-2s and your 1099s and your pay stubs and your taxes and your everything else, right? And you send it over the it's not the investor, but to the lender. I'm sorry. You send it to the lender, your bank, and the bank looks at it and they say, all right, right on. You're going to get a pre-approval, right? And you go through weeks of this and you're sending them stuff and you got your deal and you're trying to get it closed and nothing is happening. And a lot of times the reason nothing is happening is because the bank has either lost your stuff, right? Or they may have shoved it aside because they never really looked at it. And until you sent your approved purchase contract, your executed purchase contract, they never really looked at your file. So now they're finally looking at it and they're going, oh, now that we're digging into this, wow, this doesn't look so good. We told this guy 3 months ago we were going to do his loan. We pre-approved him, but this doesn't look so good, right? I don't think we can do it. And you go weeks and weeks, maybe 2-3 months, and then nothing happens. And you're just trying to close. Now think of the difficulty that does for the seller who maybe has a family and maybe they've got kids and dogs and cats and everything else, and they're trying to move and they've already sold their house and closed, and now you're holding them up because you're trying to wholesale the property to somebody else, or you're trying to close and your bank is still taking their sweet time. And when that happens, you just put a lot of stress on those people who are trying to move, right? So we try to make this happen really fast to not do that to people. But sometimes you can't help it. In this case, maybe that happened to you. And so you've got all this pressure on you because this family is calling their agent and they're screaming at the agent and saying, hey, we want to get out of here. We're living in a hotel, for God's sakes, right? I got my kids doing homework on the bed. The next bed over is my wife, and she's doing work, and she's on her laptop, and I'm at the desk, and I'm trying to read, and we got a hot pot going in the corner because we're in a hotel kitchen efficiency, and there's not really a kitchen here. I mean, it's a tough thing. That happens to people, and we try not to do that. So you got buyers who are really upset, and then if you don't close, you know you're going to lose your deposit, right? They're going to keep that deposit, and that's money you can't afford to give away. Even if you had the money to give away, why would you want to, right? So it's a tough thing to do, and you're trying to get your deal done, and that's stressful. And so if you are just reading a few books, I can see why you're hesitant to move forward yet. You got to get through that. There's a way to get through that, right? So how do you do that? Well, I mean, some of the things you have to do is you just got to find a way to get more knowledge so that you know how to handle that and you know what's probably going to come, right? So you had all the pieces, you did everything, at least you thought you did everything right. You sent all the mountains of paperwork and you got a team in place and you found the property, you ran the numbers, everything looks good, you got your credit pulled, maybe even, like I said, you had your pre-approval, the offer happened, and yet after all this months of paperwork flying around between you and the bank, nothing happened. It got turned down. Maybe it just fell out. Maybe the rate changed and your numbers don't work anymore. That's a tough spot. That's why you're using the wrong thing. If you're trying to acquire property, you might want to consider using private money for that because we close in 5 days, 10 days, pretty quick. And the money's there. We don't have to worry about whether the money's there. And there's very few things you have to do in order to qualify for that money. It's equity based. So if you have equity, you're good. You don't need to have great credit. And we can help you quit it. That reminds me of an SNL skit. Anyways, they were teasing Barbara Walters, so I'm not going to go there. I'm not that funny. So that credit matters on a bank loan, but it doesn't matter so much in private money. So that's, again, using the right tool. Which loan is going to work better? You have to know when to do that. Investors use our money to acquire properties regularly, and they do it over and over and over again. Then they put the property into a bank loan so they can carry it for 20 or 30 years, right? So I'll give you another story. I was touring a house probably, I don't know, a couple years ago, and there was a few other people in the house, and it's not far from where I live, but there were a few people in the house, and they were touring the house with me. I'm a broker, of course, and I had my business card there with the listing agent. And as I was walking around the house, I met some people there, and they were very nice people. And this couple was looking at the house, and they were saying, man, we really like this house. We want to buy it to live in. I was looking at the house because I wanted to buy it and flip it, right? I saw $150,000 profit right down the street from me. So that's all I was there for. They told me this story that was very similar to what I just told you, how they were looking at a property before, and they were trying to buy this property. Now, granted, these two aren't even investors, and they have the same problem. They couldn't understand what happened, but they went through the exact same thing. They had given the bank everything. They did the appraisals. They gave them their pay stubs. They did everything, right? All the paperwork. I mean, a file. Geez, I wish I had a file here, but a loan file easily can be this high. And I've had files where they're double, 2 stacks this high. That's like 2 phone books. That's a ton of information that you have to get for me to be able to do your loan, right? So imagine the frustration when you do that. And some of you don't have to imagine because you've already done this. It's already happened to you, right? So this happened to them and they just couldn't understand what happened. After 3 months, their bank fell out or their loan fell out. It was done. They lost the house. They lost their deposit too. And they were so upset. They were so angry. They said to me, hey, Brian, it was really good talking to you. But I'll tell you, our experience with this bank, we're never going to use a bank again. And I hear that all the time, every day, right? It's not something new. It's probably happened to a lot of you who are watching this. So I gave them my card, which just showed my brokerage, that I was a broker. Didn't have anything with lending because actually at the time they were all in one company. But they never really understood why it happened and how that happens. And I'm going to teach you guys how that happens because a lot of loans, they go to the bank to die. That's where they go. Okay. You don't want it to happen. Start with a bank. A lot of you have really bad experiences with that. Now, don't get me wrong. We need banks. They have a place in your business. They have a place in your daily life. They offer a lot of great services and fantastic rates, but don't get hung up on rates alone, right? Investors don't get hung up on rates. Investors get hung up on profit, not on rates. I don't care if I paid 100% rate, but I still at the end of the day walked away with a 6-figure profit on a deal. You don't think I would do that deal? I would do that deal. And you probably would too. So don't do the amateur thing of getting stuck on rates. And I'll explain that how that works later. But I can tell you, that's not a big deal. That's the cost of doing business. Whatever business you're in, there's a cost of doing that business. And you need to understand, if you're going to get hung up on rates, and a lot of agents will tell you the same thing, hey, don't do the deal if it's more than 5%, you're getting ripped off. No, that's not true. That's not true. You need to understand, how does that money get priced? Why is it priced higher than other money? Why is your credit card 23%, right? But your loan, your HELOC on your house, right, is only 4%. Why is that? Well, because if you don't pay the one in your house, it's secured with a property that's worth way more than the house. If you don't pay your credit card, it's not secured by anything. So clearly the risk is higher and the rate goes along with it. Okay? So keep in mind, that's why they're priced the way they are. It's not because they're trying to rip you off. It's because they're priced on the risk. Okay? That's a real simple thing. I hope you learn that. Don't forget that. All right? So when you go through and you do these things, you have to understand that from my perspective, when I see a file come through, and this is why this is value to you, because my team, we get to see all this stuff. Now, not everybody on the team sees everything because they all have different jobs, but just think of it as a company. We see your credit report. We see your application. We see your employment history, proof of employment, your taxes, your appraisal, broker price opinions if you're using that, prelims, your titles, borrower portfolio, your finances, your 401k, stocks, your savings, bank documents, you name it, we see it. Are you paying child support? Are you receiving child support? Your purchase contract, your broker commissions, the lease agreements if you're buying a property that has leases. Who are they leased to? Is it a marijuana dispensary or is it a hair salon, right? Even churches, same thing. We see that. We see all those things. So you have to understand, we're collecting a ton, just a massive amount of data on every deal we do. So when we see those deals completely packaged, we can see, wow, this is a spot where this deal may fall apart. Let's work on this first before we go and ask for the money and then tie up the money and then have the pressure of our investors, whether it be a bank or whether it be an individual or whether it be a fund, stressing out and saying, why aren't you doing this? Why isn't this moving forward? We're going to fix those problems first as best we can so that we have a higher chance of success on the back end. We already know what they're going to ask for. So that's why we kind of do it that way. All right. So if we can stay ahead of the game, it'll really help. Now, we've been doing this for, gosh, I guess I've been doing loans now for over 20 years. That's pretty good. I've been in finance for over 30 years. Okay, I started out as a stockbroker, believe it or not. I used to work for a big bank back in Ohio at the corporate headquarters. So I've done a lot of things with money, and I've been involved with money for a long time. And I figured if there's one thing I need to get good at in this life, it's understanding money. Because even if I make a lot or don't make a lot, at least I understand how it works. I know how to get back on my feet. I will always get back on my feet no matter what happens because I understand money, right? Most people don't learn about money. They learn about a job, and that's okay. You can learn about a job. But I figured I wanted to know about money because no matter what I do in my life, whether I get a job or whether I start a business or anything in between, it all has to do with making money, right? So my goal here is this. I'm going to take all the accrued information from thousands of files and millions of dollars we've lent on deals that probably some of them shouldn't have ever funded, but they did anyways, like movie deals. And we funded a winery once. I funded a race one time, a road race. I mean, that's the craziest thing ever. I mean, where do you go to get a loan for a road race, right? That's what I do. I can take all the information and put it together with my team, and we will figure out how to make your dream work, right? And that's what we want to do for you. So in this tape, in this time, in this video, I hope that what you find is that we can help get you over the hurdle. We can help you whether you want to build just a stable income, right? Or you want family wealth, or you want to be a thousandaire or 100,000aire, or maybe a millionaire. I like millionaire. I think I'll go with millionaire. So why not do this? Get in the lender's head, that's me, and fast track your business. And I'm telling you, you will do great once you start to learn all the things they don't teach you in school, because they never even taught you in school how to balance a checkbook. I mean, it's such a basic thing. It's not hard, but they don't teach you that. They don't really teach you how your FICO score works. They don't teach you what stuff hurts your FICO and what stuff doesn't. And how does a credit card work? And why is the rate the way it is? And how does this work? And they don't teach you any of that basic finance in school. You can go all the way through college and you didn't learn any of that, right? So here's what I want you to do. Somewhere in here, there's going to be a link, and I want you to click that link, and I want you to set up a call, a strategy call. And it really is a strategy call, because what we're going to do is we're going to ask you some questions about what you're doing, where you've been, what do you want to do, what's your goal. We can probably tell you how to get there pretty quick, and maybe you missed out on a few things, okay? Anybody that works with us too, we're going to give you access to millions of dollars, and I have the clients to prove it, okay? We have private lending pools, hedge funds, you name it. We work with them. We've been working with them for years, okay? So I'm just going to tell you, if you're tired of where you've been and it's time to get moving, and you're ready to change something, you're ready to change what you're doing, you're ready to change where you've been, what kind of results you've been getting. Maybe you hate your job, maybe you love your job and you just want to have something on the side. Maybe you own a little apartment building somewhere where you got 4 or 5 people paying you rent every month. That can set you up pretty good. You know, just getting sick and you miss your job, you don't have to worry because you got rent money coming in from somewhere else. Whatever it is, right? We want to help narrow the field to only those that we really can help. And that's why you want to do a strategy call. I hope we can help you. I hope you're the next one. But there's a team of us, and there's a team of people we work with. And I have to make the call every day. I can't work with everybody because some people, their goals are just way off from what we can help them with, and that's okay. Go, more power to you, man. More power to you. Go do it. But just understand, it's not that we don't want to help you. It's not that I don't want to help them. It's just sometimes we can't. But for the ones I can, I'll tell you what, it really is a big deal when you have a team of people who know what the ins and outs are. And most of that stuff, most of that information will go anywhere in the country. It doesn't matter where you are. And a lot of it will go out of the country into North America, like Canada or South America. The same basic things work. We used to do loans in South America. Okay. So it's not that different. There's a few things that change. Even state to state, loans and deals and regulations and laws change. So I just want you to understand that we aren't going to take risks that are bad for us. We don't want you to take risks that are bad for you, but learning and an education and spending time talking to a professional to see if we can help you, that's a good use of your time. That's not a bad thing at all. It is a great use of your time. I hope you'll do it, and I hope that we will see you soon. And I hope that you think and keep in mind that this can be your year, because this year is an odd one. This year has been really strange. And let me just say something about that real quick. COVID-19 has changed a lot this year. In 2007, when the market collapsed, that was because the money system in the country got messed up. And a lot of it had to do with how those files were rated by the rating company, so that the investors who were buying those loan files were buying something that they thought was more valuable and more stable than it was. It wasn't as stable as they thought, which increased their losses, and they weren't prepared for those losses, right? That's being mobile. You got to be nimble. And right now, you need to be nimble. You need to think like an investor. You need to think like a business person. You need to think like the guys on Shark Tank, right? The men and women, I shouldn't just say guys, but the men and women on Shark Tank, they look for opportunities. And I'm telling you right now, because of COVID, there are opportunities. Yes, it was horrible. And yes, people lost their jobs. People lost their businesses. People are going to lose their properties too. Even more sad, though, is the number of people who lost their lives. That's the worst part about this whole thing. We can't do anything about that right now. I'm not a scientist. My father was a scientist. I'm kind of a science dork, but that doesn't mean I can help anybody with that. But I will tell you this. With real estate in mind, business in mind, there will be new businesses that have to take the spots of the old ones. And when you drive to work tomorrow or today or whenever, or you're going to the grocery store, look and see how many of the businesses that you used to go to are now closed. I think the number was 1 in 5 have closed. That's a lot of businesses. That's probably hundreds of thousands of businesses or more. I don't know the number. But just keep in mind, with that void now there, and those people not being able to come back to a job or not being able to come back to work, are also not going to be able to pay mortgages. They're not going to be able to pay the financing on their commercial properties or whatever it is. Those properties will be new opportunities to build new things in them, to acquire new properties, to tear them down and make something better. There's all kinds of opportunities here right now, and they will be here in short order. Okay, some are here now. If you can go now today, go. And I'm going to tell you something else. You know, when I was young, I was still in college then. I was working with this millionaire, and I won't say his name, but the guy said something really profound to a group of us one night. And, you know, we were just all in awe sitting at this guy's feet, you know, and he's talking to us, and it's just, you know, words of wisdom raining down on us, right? And we're soaking it all up, you know, writing in our pads and paper and just soaking it up and just loving every minute of it. And he said something that I have never forgotten. And I hope you don't forget this either, because it's true. He said to us, he said, your mind is like a tomato. It's either ripening or rotting. There is no status quo. And what that means is, if you're not learning new information into your little brain every day, all the time, it's going to stop ripening. It's going to begin to rot. And there's so many people in this country who are doing that. You can't do that. You've got to keep learning. So keep doing that. And I hope you'll keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to shut up now. And I want you guys to find the link. I want you to think about how much you want to make, what you want to do, what business you want to start, what company you want to own, what property you want to buy, whatever it is. And I'll tell you what, don't let anybody tell you, you're working too hard, you're doing too much of this. That's a bunch of crap. Because guess what? You're working too hard for somebody else right now. I guarantee it. You're working too hard. You're not getting a raise. You come home stressed out. You want to have you got a headache, and you're going to be taking Tylenol or Advil or something else, and you're all tensed up and you're stressed out, and maybe you want to kick the trash can when you walk in the door because nobody picked it up and took it in the house, and you got to do it. So, you're stressed out already. How can you be working too hard doing something that is going to benefit you and your family as opposed to your job? That's not working hard at all. That's fantastic. And I can tell you a whole lot more stuff that I've done and a lot more successes we've had. But I want the next stories that I tell to be yours because I got a ton of them. I could keep yapping forever. I want the next stories to be yours. I want you to take a minute. I want you to find the calendar link and I want you to book a time to talk to one of my senior strategists. And we are going to find a way to get you down the road. Okay? Talk to you soon.